Ladies and gentlemen, it has been way too long, but it is so good to see you here. And Ryan, it's so good to sit across the table from you today.
It's great to sit with you, Josh. Yeah, it has been.
Oh,
Why has it been? It's
probably
my
been
fault.
One thing after another. No, it's
It's
both
a team
of us.
effort.
It has been
It's a team effort. Okay.
You know, we're just gonna say Easter's a big time around
Easter's big. Yeah, there's spring break that's
Yes.
coming up. We've got, all sorts of
got a
different
lot
things going on. Yep.
But here we are,
Vitalogy.
the
Yes.
Vitalogy podcast, and I just, I haven't got to show off the book too many more times. We've only talked about it once.
Have you read it yet?
No. Yeah, how many pages is this?
They're thick pages too.
Very thick. Yeah, it's actually only about 1,000 pages.
That's it. Okay.
But it looks like
It
twice that. And so yeah. Anyway, you have to watch the last podcast to find out more about that book. It's not just the cover of a Pearl Jam album, quite a good Pearl Jam album.
It is a good Pearl Jam album. Yep. But it's a book.
Yeah.
It was a book first, and the book was better.
It was. And but the podcast is even better altogether, right?
Right. That's true. That's true.
Yes, but that's word just means the study of life, and that's what we want to do today. That's what we want to do every time we get together is to try to look at how the life that Jesus offers in particular is leads to life abundance.
Yep.
How we can learn from that, and so we've got a great sermon to talk through today.
Yeah.
And
we do
to catch up on.
Yeah.
A little bit. But
great text.
But there has been a number. I mean, it's been about 3 weeks, 4 weeks since we've been together here. We did have the Bible in your hands. That was the last. That's actually in the podcast feed. So if you're following along, we haven't been here for a while. But
that was really great. Yeah, Chris Coates did just a phenomenal job of teaching and encouraging and really inviting us into the world of how we got the English Bible. And man, it was a great night.
Really was. It was a week long of activity. A week long of people coming in and out of the church.
That was great.
Checking out. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
And then Josh, you're coming out of youth pastor retirement.
Let me turn off my computer because all of a sudden we're getting feedback here. Okay.
Yeah. You're coming out of youth pastor retirement.
I am.
You're like the Brett Favre of youth ministry.
Oh man, yeah. Actually, that's funny. Very similar. In fact,
wear your Wranglers.
What Ren is referring to is I'm not fully coming out of retirement, okay, but just for a week. Next week, I get to take the high school students to Mexico.
Right on.
And actually, I get to do one of my favorite trips when I was high school pastor here. Was this trip to Mexico where we'd go down and build houses, and I just love it. You know, one of the things that I love about this most, and it's probably one of the reasons why you need to go on this trip one day.
Yes,
is because you get to actually go down somewhere, like complete a project, and then walk away from a completed project.
Let me know how that feels.
Yeah, because it's fabulous. It is fabulous because we don't get to do that.
Not a whole lot. Not
ever.
Yeah.
Really,
it's just not the nature of.
No, it's not. Yeah. Well, you can complete a sermon. You can complete, something, different pieces of it, but it's just not the same to see it, to walk away. In fact, this year, I realized the first house that I built with this group was 18 years ago.
Wow.
And so it was actually a few years before I came to this church.
How cool.
4 years before I came to this church, I was going down to this organization, the church in Arizona. And that house, the last time I was there, it was still standing.
Yes, I was going to ask.
4 years ago.
I was going to ask. Right
4
on.
years ago, but I'm going to go by it again. And I hope it's still standing.
How cool. That's great, man.
I know. So
that's great.
They're really, they're decent houses.
Yeah.
They're 320 square feet. They've got 2 little bedrooms and a loft.
Right on.
Like a real roof and drywall and electrical and all that
stuff. That's great.
How
cool.
It's a cool opportunity.
So we're taking how many high schoolers are going down?
40 students.
40 students going down.
So 59 of us total.
Right on.
Going down.
That's great.
Coming.
Fun.
Families. It is a blast. And so that's happening next week. So we will not be here next week. And actually, we won't get to do this again for a little while
It'll be
because
a little bit.
the week after that is our is a marriage seminar.
That's right.
And so this is going to be our third Wednesday, happens to fall right after Easter. And I'm really hoping this is a great opportunity for people that are coming at Easter to say, this is something I need a little help on too.
Yep.
And so
that'll be wonderful.
There'll be a marriage
Great.
seminar. So we'll be hosting that as a part of the podcast. It'll be in the same podcast feed. So if you listen online, then you'll get in on that. But you can listen live as well. With all of our third Wednesdays, you can go to live.efcc.org. In fact, did you know this? Anytime we're live, even right now, you could go on your computer at home to live.efcc.org.
I did not know that.
And it shows up.
All right.
We show up there.
Right on.
Any of our church services.
Very cool.
Live, boom. You just go there.
Okay.
Good Friday. That's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us, we got some things coming.
We do. We have Easter coming up, which is going to be just a wonderful chance to celebrate resurrection. Good Friday, the Friday before Easter Sunday, and we've got two services on Good Friday, noon and 6:30. The noon is classic worship. 6:30 is modern worship, and then we've got 5, 6 services Easter.
5 o'clock Saturday.
5 o'clock Saturday.
And then
7:30.
7:30 in the morning.
7:30 and 9.
2 classic services on Easter. 7:30 in the morning.
7:30, 9.
And then 9. And so, those of you who can make it up early.
Yep.
Come on out.
7:30, baby.
Good. That's the one I'll be at.
Right on.
I'll be at that one. Then I'll be over in the chapel. Then
right
I get to speak to the children.
Yes.
So I'm doing the Easter sermon for the kids.
Nice.
This time. So
that's cool. That's
fun.
cool.
That'll be fun. So
right on, man.
Kids programming on all but 7:30, I believe.
Yeah.
And so because we know you don't want to get your kids up at 7:30. You don't want to see my kids at 7:30.
Right.
So
there's not going to be a lot of kids at that service. So.
No, indeed.
But I'm excited for a 7:30 service, man. I'm like 7:30. I'm like ready to go. Yeah.
We're going to see the real energy come out.
That's right, man. Like earlier the better. Let's do this.
Hey, there you go. Mark Bennett is here with us. Mark, hello. And say hi to your mom for us, okay? Give her a big hug right now. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, let's
shall we dive in?
Jump into this.
Yeah.
And get into Easter.
Get into Easter. And we're gonna do that through John chapter 11.
Yes.
So it's not this text isn't resurrection of Jesus, but it is resurrection. And so I sort of my idea with John 11 is that it's a story about Lazarus that points us to Jesus, that really invites us to dwell on our eternal reality and what the end of the story is for us too. So there's a lot of things going on in John chapter 11, but it starts with these 2 women who Jesus knows, their sisters, Mary and Martha, send word to Jesus, hey, Lazarus, your boy, he's sick. And the implication is come because you could heal him.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then John tells us that Jesus waited 2 days. And I just, as I was reading this, Josh, I'm just going, gosh, this feels familiar, right? Not because I've read the story before, but because I think we've all lived that, right? That there are times where it feels like, God, if you love me, God, if you're there, God, if you're real and you're powerful, then certainly you do something about this. And you're not. And there's some tension there. And I think the tension I wanted to draw out was between Mary and Martha's expectations of Jesus and then their reality and what they actually experienced in real life. And the delta between those two things and the distance is often pretty painful and pretty disappointing, if we could be honest, right?
Yeah. And so that's that idea of unmet expectations, right? The disappointment with God that we do experience at times. I mean, even in our expectations of what we would expect God to do in that scenario, right? I don't know if you there's a daily field devotional that came out on one of our other podcast feeds, or if you get the email. I wrote this one today, and in that I said, this is probably not a time that you would that you would ask the question, WWJD. What would Jesus do, right? You get a call from somebody
Jesus
in the
would wait.
hospital. It's a funny thing because this is not
Totally.
not the way that, not the time where we try to live like Jesus.
That's right. Yeah.
Waiting when there's a crisis, because typically we want to rush in and
Yeah, we
be there and make sure that's what happens. So Jesus isn't teaching us about pastoral care right here, right?
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Although sometimes in parenting, it's like, yeah, I mean, kids want us to right away,
Yes,
get
they
it right
do.
away.
Yes.
And, you know, both my sons will go through phases of like, I have to have whatever this fill in the blank thing.
Yeah. Oh, yours do
And
that, huh? That's interesting.
mhm,
Your
mhm.
kids must be so
They get it
selfish.
from their mom.
No, yes,
Right.
I think all kids
Right.
do. And mine do as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that idea of waiting and being formed in the waiting is something that we can relate to. Even if we
Yes.
resist it, we can relate
Yes.
to it. But I think one of the things I wanted to do was try to help people name and maybe give language to some of the things that they expect of God, even if they
Mhm.
can't name them. And
Mhm.
I don't know about you. One of the things that I love, types of counseling I love doing is premarital.
Mhm.
And every time we talk about expectations,
Mhm.
typically people are like, I don't really have any expectations, you know? And it's like, what I typically say, yeah, we usually don't know what our expectations are until they're unmet. And at that point we go, okay, I had an expectation that this was going to happen
Yeah.
and it didn't. And now I'm frustrated or
Yeah.
disappointed or hurt. And so what I wanted people to do here was try to say, okay, these are some of the expectations I have of God or thoughts that I have of God in my mind. And so that we could then go and maybe deconstruct and reconstruct a little bit to say maybe God isn't exactly like the view we have in our mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as soon as you you don't realize you have the expectation until you're disappointed
Correct.
by it, right?
Yep.
And so that is the funny thing, and that in premarital counseling as well, which is a blast to be able to do. I love it as well. You hear that sort of like, I don't have expectations, and I just think to myself, oh, you don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't even know, and I sometimes tell them that, like, you don't realize the issues, and you don't realize how selfish you are,
Right.
because that's some of the expectations that you have, that
Sure.
my needs are going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And it is hilarious to hear how optimistic some young
Yes.
couples are.
Yes.
Now, I'd rather have that than,
Sure. Yeah. I
the
try
opposite.
not to squelch that, but ask questions like, is it possible that maybe you have expectations that you're not aware of?
You're not aware of.
Well, maybe.
Yes. But they definitely come out, and they tend to come with disappointment.
Yeah.
Right. The phrase that I tend to always use in counseling is that let's see, expectation without communication equals frustration. Right. Now,
Yes.
at the same time, I think that works. The expectation without even knowing you have it, okay, will cause a frustration. So
Definitely.
like, you may not even recognize that you have this expectation.
Yep.
And I think, or it can be assumed. So I think that's what happens with God.
Yes.
That we assume that God would do something.
Right. And a lot of it has to do with the image that we have of God in our mind. And
I like
that's sort of tied to the expectation. So, but one of the things that John does in this text and that Jesus does in this interaction is I think he's going all in on this expectation that Jesus is going to heal because he loves this family. And that's my working hypothesis, because he says it 2 times. He says it in verse 3, and then he says it in verse 5. And then he once again refers to Lazarus, I think it's in verse 11 or 12, as his friend. And it's just this layers upon layers of, I have affection for this family. I care deeply about this family. I know this family. And so you want to believe that because of that, Jesus is going to do what they ask.
Yeah.
That's the expectation.
Yep. Yep.
But he takes out one of our main reasons for assuming that God doesn't come through, and it's, well, you must not love me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
John and
Mhm.
Jesus both eliminate that from the equation and go,
Mhm.
it's not that.
No. Huh,
You
that's
may
good.
not know exactly why in the time that God doesn't come through the way you hope, but one of the things you can take off the table is the fact that he is withholding love from you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think is a pretty
Yes.
powerful thing, right? That if we take that out of the equation and we go, I'm convinced God loves me. I'm
Yeah.
convinced because of, now we get to be convinced because of the cross.
Yes.
Mary and Martha were convinced because of interaction and maybe like words, whatever they saw and or heard, they were convinced. But we get
Mhm.
to be convinced of the same thing.
Yes, but see, and I love that because our expectation has to do that love would show itself in some sort of evidence of proof or something like that.
Mhm.
It's going to be some sort of like God doing something for us is how, I mean, that's how we tend to show love, all
Mhm.
those things. But understanding that it's not based on anything else, that it's not some conditional kind of thing, that He loves us no matter what happens.
Yeah.
That that there is huge.
Yeah. That we can't look at our circumstances to try to figure out, God, do you love me? Like
Mm,
that will let us down almost every time.
yeah. And so instead of okay, ooh, instead of looking at what's happened and say, does God love me or does He not? It's much better to come into it saying, no, God loves me no matter what happens,
Yeah.
even this, or this, because those things, I mean, if nothing else, what Jesus is sort of communicating, like he's not orchestrating everything here, right? Some of these things happened. Obviously, he doesn't want Lazarus to
Right.
die, right?
He gets
In fact,
angry.
he gets angry, gets sad, and then he reverses it.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus would do. At the same time, it doesn't always do that.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't always do it in the timeline that we
Yes.
expect.
Yep.
And so that was one of the things that struck me about this and this passage. And it's in a sense buried in the Greek and doesn't come through in every English translation. But this idea that this illness does not lead to death,
Mhm.
the NASB, as I suggested on Sunday,
Yeah, that's right.
is a little bit more, I think, technically correct, where it says this sickness does not end in death.
Yeah.
So it may lead to it,
Yeah. It's
but it won't stop with it.
okay.
So
Huh.
I'll say, like, probably on Easter, one of my favorite like Easter ideas is that death is a reality, but it's not a finality.
Yeah. I like
And
that.
so it's part of the story. And we usually think of it as the end, but
Mm.
it will not end in death.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah. So
Jesus would say the same thing
so you can say that about anything,
about anything.
even even when it doesn't end in this like spectacular, amazing, miraculous event that we all see right here.
Right.
In 4 days, right? This
Yeah.
one's 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why it was four
So
instead of three, but
I
that's
just
I'll
think
forget
yeah.
that.
Well, because
We
well,
wouldn't.
this would have implications for Jesus too. But that
Yeah.
idea in John chapter 11, where they say, after 4 days, the tradition was that the spirit then left the body, or the soul left the body.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it hovered for 3 days, and
Interesting.
then that was the rabbinic tradition, right?
Huh.
Yeah, hovered for 3 days, and then day 4, it was like the soul was like,
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that was beyond any help or hope.
correct.
Oh, wow.
So that's
I had not
why
heard
they
that. I have
mark
not heard
that
that.
4 days idea. Yeah.
That's cool.
But I just think of so I made this statement on Sunday,
Mhm.
something to the effect of we often say, if you're not dead, you're not done.
Yeah,
And
I like this a
I'm
lot.
like, well, I was thinking about that because I've said that.
Yeah.
I've said, if you're not dead, you're not done, to try to motivate people to live with purpose, right? Till the day they go home to meet Jesus. And
Right.
I'd add my hearty amen to that. But I don't think that's technically correct, because even when we're dead, we're not done.
Yes.
God's not done. And that resurrection is the end of the story. So if we're not there yet, we're not at the end of the story.
Yeah.
This sickness will not, this life will not end in death.
And interesting you say that. I got to thinking that, man, this Lazarus guy gets it twice in some sense, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit lucky. And yet, at the same time, this is a bit of a shadow, right? I mean, he doesn't, because this is not fully resurrection.
Correct.
It's like the image of it in a sense, but it's at some point it's a little bit more resuscitation. I'm sure it's more than that though.
It's resurrection, but not new body, right?
Yeah,
I think so. When the scriptures say Jesus is the first fruits of the resurrection, and so Lazarus isn't, but Jesus is, and Jesus's resurrected body is the body that I think body similar to what we will have. Lazarus is, I believe, was just like ours now, that eventually died again.
It died, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But what kind of like gusto do you live with if you know what's like, if you have been there, right?
I know.
Like, how does Lazarus, and you just wonder what his life was like after this.
And why didn't he write anything down for
us? Come on.
Like, that would have been really,
I joked
really
in our writing team today that we don't hear much about Lazarus after this because he's working on his best-selling book about when he went to heaven.
I really wish he would have. Yeah, we don't.
Wouldn't that be great?
We don't hear about that at all.
It is sort of crazy that, and maybe there is, maybe my ignorance in this area of literature will show, but it is pretty crazy that we don't have like some sort of fake Gnostic gospel by Lazarus.
I know,
right?
I know. I don't know what the traditions say that happened to him.
He doesn't show up at the cross.
Nope.
He doesn't show up to care for the body. He doesn't show up. Mary and Martha show up.
Yes, they do. So this is kind of the last time you hear of him, right?
You hear about him at one point in John 12 because they throw a party for him. Right? Okay, and that's where Jesus is anointed by Mary.
Got it.
In her wash.
Yeah, that's right.
She washes his feet with her hair. But that's it.
Wow.
You really don't hear a whole lot else.
Interesting. Huh.
Anyway, so I really wanted people to, I wanted to suggest that even though we know the end of John chapter 11, we live in the middle.
Yeah.
And that living in the middle means that we will experience illness, sickness, pain, death, sorrow. But none of those are the end of our story either, just like they weren't the end of Lazarus's.
And, to me, I think that whole point is such a good point when we talk about healing, when we ask for healing, because I mean, we can have hope. It's really hard to put our expectation that we know that God will.
Right.
And that's when a lot of people get into trouble in this whole world, and when they put all of their not just their hope, but they believe without a shadow of doubt that God's going to do something.
Oh man.
And they get in all sorts of trouble. The fact of the matter is, though, that they're missing the timeline, right?
Yeah.
Because we do know that God will heal.
Yes.
Like, that's the one thing I recognize every time we pray for prayer, every time you've ever prayed for someone, prayed for prayer. I think I just said, sorry. You prayed for healing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you've ever prayed for resurrection, even, right? I mean, I guess you can pray for it. I guarantee you it will happen.
It will.
For those who believe, right?
Yep.
It's going to happen. It's just may not happen in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But we are guaranteed healing.
Yep.
And guaranteed resurrection even.
Come on.
And so that changes the way that you see it. And it doesn't necessarily make it easier in the moment when you're dealing with it. It doesn't make it less painful, right? It's still very, very painful, but yet there's so much hope in knowing that one day they will
grieve, but not as those who do not have hope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man. So
Greg's adding his amen to getting healed. Greg's been in the hospital for the last few days. Greg, we've been praying for you, man.
I wonder, are you writing from hospital
From
or
the hospital.
home.
Give us an update, man.
Come on.
Give
We
us
want to
an
know.
update. Yes.
We heard that there's a chance he was coming home today, but we will see. And so, oh man, well, no, I really appreciate the way that you brought that in of the, the you're not done till you're dead, or the way I've always heard it is that we'll rest when I'm dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But apparently not.
Apparently not. Apparently not. The story goes on.
Oh,
The story goes
man.
on.
Oh, good. So Mark's mom Rose is watching. So
Right on.
hello, good to see you there. Okay, one day more, they said.
One day more. All right,
That's-
man. Praying
all
that
right,
is the
Greg.
case.
Yes,
Please.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that we can fill some of your time.
Yeah.
There in the lonely hospital.
Yep.
These days.
Yep.
But okay. So oh man, I forget you. Shawshank Redemption. You ruined the movie for everybody.
Somebody was telling me just at in my small group on Monday, they were like, "Hey, thanks for ruining Shawshank. It was on my to watch list." I'm like,
dude, really?
You're like 25 years. Wait, it's 1994. So how many
1994.
years? It's a lot of years. Like,
we're almost 30.
come on.
Anyway, yeah, that is
Isn't that hilarious?
And
he's like, you spoiled it.
And it doesn't. It's still good. I've
It's
watched
still good.
that multiple times.
It is still good.
Each time it is still good.
It is still good.
But it was a great reference. It was a great reference.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of those movies, right? Where you stop it in the middle and you draw an ultimate conclusion in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
You will miss the plot line entirely. And I firmly believe that that's what Jesus is saying. Like, if you draw an ultimate conclusion in the middle of the story, you miss the plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Hey, can I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was listening to that. I'm sure, but Greg just showed me this.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I don't know if this will come through at all. Oh, look at it. It might sort of.
It's going to be like
Thank you,
Inception.
Greg. And I hope he's like, I didn't want you showing that, but this is Greg's hospital room with our with us on there.
With us on there.
That is funny. All right, cool. Thank you, Greg, for proof that he's watching with these little. He's got like a hospital cup there.
Yes, he does.
The hospital cup with a really good ice in it. Hopefully,
the crushed ice.
The crushed ice is
yeah.
amazing. Why do all hospitals
totally.
have that? Anyway, and why can't I get that in my fridge? But anyway, sorry. Off topic. Where were we? Thank you, Greg.
I think we're going to talk about glory.
I know, that's right. I was working my way to this, to
verse
glory,
4.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about where you went with glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this passage is one fascinating. It says, but when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of Man may be glorified through it."
Mm-hmm.
And
yes. So, okay. Because he had said, like, he's glad, right? This is that other part, right?
Yep.
It comes up. He's glad, not that he died necessarily, but the teachable moment that he's about to give,
so that they believe.
And then see that's what I connect this here a little bit, that he was glad that so they could believe.
Yep.
And that then his death would be for his glory.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Now, the point you made, let's see, this is that we believe that God's glory often shines brightest when life is darkest, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So good. So good. Because here they are in the worst possible time. And God's glory is shining in.
And he's even saying these things are all happening so that my glory can be displayed. And what's happening is, well, sickness and death is what's happening, and waiting and questioning God and all these things. This is what's happening. Yeah.
Yes. So I love this. I love the concept of glory. And yet, and I know you weren't, this isn't a talk on glory, and I know you're kind of touching the
no, but let's dive into it, because it's a weighty word.
It really is.
Unintended.
Yes. pun intended. Okay, because what he means by that is the word glory. One of the definitions, right, is weightiness.
Yeah,
right.
That was such a nerdy
That
joke.
was a great.
Oh my god.
It was like a
Yeah.
it was like a mixture of a dad joke and pastor joke.
Yeah, theology
joke,
all
all mixed in, the languages and everything. So you've got this idea of weightiness, right? Of like value, worth, right? And yet, here's the question I've often thought of: is that what about the value of something that is it that Jesus is excited about? What is he, and why should we be excited about that? About seeing Jesus's glory, about the fact that it shines.
Yeah.
Right, it shines brightest. Because I think there's something else going on. There's because and C.S. Lewis does this. This is where he points this out in The Weight of Glory. Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is his amazing essay. That man, you could. Yeah, it is. C.S. Lewis.
It's decent.
It's there's people out there who who literally they had real discussions about whether the stuff that C.S. Lewis writes is like almost good enough to be a part of scripture. Okay, people have asked that question. Now, I don't think it should. Okay, to be very clear. like should that?
If I see like a hashtag canonize Clive, then I'm on your car. If it's on your car, the alliteration.
You had to alliterate that. Oh my goodness, that was excellent. Oh my goodness, that was canonized Clive, man. Oh my goodness. No, it is, and all of that to say, it is so good that it was an example. When people talk about scripture, obviously we don't encourage that at all. The canon is closed in a sense that what the Bible we have is the Bible that is all the Bible we need.
Yes.
However, that's how good it is. That's the example that people go to when they say, like, should we add other things like C.S. Lewis? Because it's kind of one of those like, everybody loves. And this is one where I think he just nails glory.
What does he say?
So he talks about the weightiness of it.
Yep.
But then he says the other definition is luminance. Right. And so I love you put shines brightest.
Yeah.
Okay. That there is something about glory that shines. And now here's the question: why would you want glory to shine? Why would you want anything to shine other than
to illuminate something or to draw attention to?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually both ways you think about that is so that you could see it better.
Yeah.
Right. So that someone somehow sees something else better.
Right.
Right.
Huh, that's cool.
And so the thing that the way I think about glory, of why God would want glory, because this used to bug me. This used to bug me a lot. Like, why does God, like, what does he care about having all the glory? As if like he's up there saying, give me glory.
Right.
I just want all the glory because I need more glory, or something like that. Like, it can make God, if you put it that way, kind of into like this power hungry, like, all the attention on me kind of being, right? However, if you add that little twist about the luminance, about shining a light, we want to give God glory so that he will shine for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Because God's glory is about shining his goodness and his love and his character
totally
as far as the eye can see. And so what a great example.
And when he's glorified in us,
yes,
right, we recognize his beauty, his majesty, his power, his weight.
Yes.
And when he's glorified through us, other people see his beauty, his majesty, his glory, his weight.
That's right.
And one of the things that struck me is that one of the things that I said on Sunday was, what better gift could God give us?
Yes.
Than himself on display in us and through us.
Yes, exactly.
One of the interesting, I like that, luminance.
Yeah.
That's a good, that's why I picked shines.
That's right. That's right. So here's the thing, and you keep looking that up, because what I'll say to people that they say they want to give God glory. Well, the best way to give God glory is to bring someone else,
Mm,
is to reveal God to someone else, right? Because God is not going to get any more glory by just you and me
right.
singing to God, praising God. He's already got our attention, our glory, right? We already see him. Now we may get more from it,
Right.
but God's not going to get any more from it.
Right.
So the only way to give God more glory is actually to involve other people,
Ah, that's
and to
interesting.
bring others to him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this is one of those in scripture. There's a number of different instances like this where we see something that Jesus would be glorified, right? And yet we read in Isaiah chapter 6, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory, right? So in a sense, the
yeah.
whole world is already full of God's
Oh yeah.
glory.
Oh yeah.
And when he's glorified, I believe that is in shining a light, when pointing out,
Yes.
drawing to the surface ways that God's beauty, majesty, weightiness, luminance is present within his creation. And
Yeah.
even, for example, in resurrection, ways that his attributes are becoming more visible to us.
That's
He's a
right.
God who renews. This is part of his glory.
That's right. Yeah, you could say it that from the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power, his divine nature, they've been clearly seen. They've been there. So my, maybe not fully, I don't know if it's a fully rounded definition of glory, but would be God's attributes on display.
Yeah.
For the world to see is the way I like to say that. And when we kind of keep God here, it's not quite revealing God's glory to the world.
Right.
And so it's really tied to evangelism and sharing and all that. It must be.
That's cool.
So, and I thought you did bring it out in that.
Yeah. Not in
maybe not
the same exact words, but one of the things I also wanted to play with is that this passage, and I hope I made this clear, certainly points to the resurrection as the ultimate display of glory in this passage, but it doesn't tie it only to that. It says this happened so that the glory of God may be displayed. And I started to wonder, if God's glory is displayed in Jesus's weeping, and Jesus's anger at death, at Jesus's attentiveness to the people in their pain.
Yeah.
And in the resurrection, but maybe not limited to it. Like, what if God's attributes are on display in Jesus weeping?
Okay. Now, but then let me take that a step further. Can that be displayed in us?
Sure.
In our
I think so.
Disappointment, even in our sadness, because actually there's a quote that you had in your notes I recognize that might touch on that a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think you got to get to quite yet. And this is Oswald Chambers.
Good old Ozzy.
Because in Oswald Chambers, you talk about this there's a discipline of disillusionment that somehow even in our sadness, something can
Oswald Chambers, and there's a number of other people that have written about this, but we usually have this idea of disillusionment, like, oh, this is such a bummer. Like I've been disillusioned, right? And we're sort of downcast about that thing, or that's a negative thing. And what Oswald Chambers is saying is, no, this is actually a great thing. To be disillusioned is to let go of an illusion so that you can hold on to a reality, right? You let go of a fantasy in order to hold on to something that's true. And his point in saying this, that's never a bad thing. But I think disillusionment about life, about maybe life being painless or just always up and to the right. Letting go of that can be really painful.
But that's what we need to do. Right? Because it's not always that.
It's not. And I think part of that, part of the tears, that the invitation to weep with those who weep is, man, what if that's part of the glory of carrying the glory of God? Right?
Yeah, because it's living more in reality. I mean, I think of the tears in particular, you're talking about how that can fit, how that can bring God glory. And I'm just thinking that, when we weep with the things that God would weep with,
Yeah.
that Jesus is weeping, and maybe it's not just because he's personally sad, which I'm sure he is.
Mhm.
But then again, he's like, he knows what he's about to do, right? I mean,
Right. You have to read it and go, I think you have to ask the question, is this divine theater? Is this what's
yeah,
going on? But I think you're supposed to ask that question as you read it with the resolution, no. Like, even though he knows the end,
totally.
the middle matters to him. Our
Yeah.
middle matters to him. And I think as parents, we see this, right? Like, our kids have a broken heart over something and we can rationalize it and go, they'll be over it in a few hours.
Yeah.
And yet we want to enter in, right?
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
want to feel what they're feeling as good parents.
Yeah. And except we're talking right now about, one of the most profound verses and yet the shortest verse of
Yeah.
the Bible, right?
It's a little bit of a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
we're
about
gonna
it
get
this
started.
week.
Okay,
Yeah.
shoot.
No, that's okay.
But
we won't be on podcast next week. So
that's true. We won't. But he says that after seeing the people.
yeah.
He saw her weeping and the Jews who had come
Yeah.
alongside weeping.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
gonna
you're
talk
going to talk
about
about
that.
that. Okay,
week.
so
I
we
can't
won't-
wait,
We
man.
can't go in.
But
more,
you know what the other cool thing is? This is a little bit of a spoiler alert
Mhm.
too. He not only sees them, but Mary and Martha are very different in their grieving.
Oh, yeah.
And he sees both of them
Yeah.
and he draws them both in.
Mhm.
Even Mary, who's just, I think she's more of an internal processor of grief.
Mhm.
So she's like, let me sit in my house and
Hmm.
weep and process this alone. And Jesus is like, nope, come on. And I get the picture of Martha that she's like frantic,
Mhm.
trying to
Hmm.
figure it out and trying to move all the pieces and parts. And I think Jesus to her is like, okay, like, let's just calm down. It's
Yeah.
going to be okay.
Yeah.
So he meets them both
Interesting.
exactly where they're at.
He
It's really
gets in
cool.
there.
But he
Oh,
sees
man.
verse 33. It's key.
Yeah.
It's key.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, then we'll let you go there. I won't dig into that verse anymore because there's a lot there. I look forward to hearing what comes out Sunday, and I hope you join us somewhere on that journey. Hopefully here or not. But now, before we wrap things up, I did want to bring up one more thing, and this relates, of course, because this is I think this is after the glory, towards the end of the message. I noticed something in this. There's a quote, a Martin Luther quote. It was a great quote.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the quote was, the disciples already believe in one sense. Welcome. Anyway, someone just walked in on us. That's all right.
Hey.
They already believe in one sense, but each new trial offers. I love that. That's kind of what we're
Mhm.
getting at. That even the tears offer an opportunity to grow, right? So that which is potential becomes real,
Right.
right? It becomes real in them. Faith can either be stationary.
Can neither.
Excuse me. Neither be stationary nor
Nor
complete. Now, okay,
right.
that idea, faith can't. It doesn't just end. It's not just a thing that you have, and you've got it all,
It.
right?
Yep.
It's not complete. It can't be complete, is what Martin Luther is saying. Faith always becomes.
Yes.
Okay, now it's a great quote. I think you could have spent another 5-10 minutes on that.
Totally.
Quote, right?
It's.
But you didn't finish the quote, did you?
No.
What's
okay? So the last part of the quote is, he who is, and it's an emphatic, italicized, he who is a Christian is no Christian.
Okay. Wait. He who is a Christian is no Christian. Now, my logic brain will come out here. Is he saying that who is a Christian is not a Christian at the same time? Now, because that seems contradictory.
Yeah.
What's happening
I
here?
think what he's saying. So the reason I didn't say it is because I didn't want to get the emails that would come from
Okay.
what why'd you say that? Are you saying I'm not a
Yeah.
anyway. No, but I actually, when the real reason I didn't say it was because as I was quoting it, reading through my message, getting ready to preach on Sunday morning, I read it and went, I feel like that complicates it.
Yeah.
That faith always becomes. I felt like that's good. That's
Yes.
enough.
Yes.
I need to clarify this, and I just didn't want to take the time to do it. Now I'd love to.
Now, okay, good. You needed a podcast
Yeah,
to explain
yes.
it. So here we are.
Yeah, and I think what he's saying is that if we feel like we've arrived, that our faith is complete or full or as far as it's going to get, that we actually don't have genuine faith. I think that's what he's saying. And so you're right. We often, and I said this in the message, view faith as a very static thing.
Yeah.
I either have it
Yeah.
or I don't. And what Luther's saying, and I think what Jesus is saying, this is all spurred on by Jesus's statement. I'm for your sake, I'm glad that I was not there so that you may believe.
Yes.
And he's talking to his disciples who already believe
totally
on some level. And yet he's growing them and he is helping them mature, and he's forming them through the furnace of frustration to be people of deeper faith. And so he who is a Christian, meaning they've arrived, they're complete, they're done, is I think Luther's saying they have no clue.
Yeah. So he who has no expectations in marriage has no clue, right? I mean, right?
Yeah.
He who thinks he's got it all together as a Christian hasn't started the journey.
He who thinks he has or she has God figured out, has no clue.
Oof. He's saying, I'm the example of a Christian, right? It's just, no, I'm not. It's almost this. I mean, I love the way he says that. I mean, I love that he says it. Let me just put it that way.
Yes.
I'd love to see his commentary on this phrase.
He was a unique guy, wasn't he?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Man.
Yes, that is there's so much in that.
Yeah.
So much in that. Yes, that is I think it's a powerful concept that he who thinks he's arrived is not a Christian, right?
Yeah.
This reminds me of Paul saying, I've not finished the race. Right. This is, I'm not there yet. And
press on.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And if so, that's always encouraging when people like Paul, the Apostle Paul, people like Martin Luther, says that he's saying, I need to keep becoming.
Yeah.
My faith needs to continually grow. Right. That makes it feel better for someone like me that knows that I need to continue to grow,
totally.
right?
And I think there's something exciting about that expectation that we would continue to grow throughout our life, regardless of how close we are to Jesus and how long we've been following him. There's always more.
Yeah.
And it's not a duty, you better do this more. It's an adventure, invitation, Vitalogy, right? There's more life to be had.
That's right.
And because I would say that faith is the pathway to flourishing as a human being. And because we were designed to live in a relationship with God. So if there's more, if our faith develops more, then our joy will be developing more also. So
I love it. I love what Carolyn says about it. She says, we don't master faith, but we press on to grow from faith to faith in our Lord.
Yeah.
I like
that. That's really good.
Oof.
That's really good.
I don't even know if we'll master faith in heaven.
That's an interesting question. Oof. Yeah.
That's really good. And she also said this is Carolyn, way to go. Jesus never promised easy, but he always promised with.
Right on.
I really like the way he said that. That's really good.
And then Greg Hill says,
gotta
stay hydrated.
That had to do with our ice comment. Oh man, that is excellent. Okay. Any last thoughts on?
I think that, I did a sort of a fire hydrant at the end of what does it mean to trust? There's some interest. I feel like sometimes we just say trust and it's very ambiguous. So,
well, see, that's a great one to kind of dive into a little bit more. Even, I mean, with friends, with family, with a small group, to jump into that question. What does it mean for me to trust more, to have more faith? All that,
yeah.
that'd be a great discussion. So, but hey, we've you brought a book, I heard, right?
I did a booklet.
A booklet. Okay.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan brought a booklet. It's a
All right.
brand new segment.
Hey, so here's our booklet.
It is we.
It is Heaven by Randy Alcorn.
Yep.
And this is a booklet version of a longer book. It's a few 100-page book. And actually, the first time I read this book was in it probably would have been early 2014, right after my mom passed away. And somebody had recommended this book to me, and I thought, I think I'll pick that up and read it. And it was like a part of my therapy and a huge gift to me, because I think Alcorn, what he does not only in this book, but the booklet, but also in the full-length book, is he gives a theological, expose of heaven as described in the scriptures. And it's there's more. One of the things he points out is there's actually more information about heaven in the scriptures than we typically think. And it's just not all in the exact same spot, right? So there's not just one area we can go to and go, let me read about heaven, right?
Like
it's a systematic, right?
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
But one of the best chapters in the full-length book is he makes, I believe it's 21 observations about Revelation chapter 6.
Oh, yes.
And it's worth the price of the whole book.
Really?
And it is so good. Things like, have you ever wondered if people in heaven can see what's going on earth?
Yeah.
Well, according to Revelation 6, they can.
Yeah.
At least those people in heaven can.
Yeah.
So have you ever wondered if people in heaven still have questions? In Revelation 6, they do. And even when they ask God himself, those questions remain unanswered in heaven for a time. And so things like this idea of learning and growing, this is something that theoretically we'll be doing throughout all of eternity, right? So
I love that.
We wanted to get this booklet in the hands of as many people as we could around Easter, as we're thinking about eternity and life eternal. And one of the things that I love about this booklet, Josh, is that the very first question that it answers is present heaven and future heaven.
Yes.
And so is heaven in the clouds, if you will, our final destination as human beings? And so if you're interested,
you'll have to read to find out.
Heaven by Randy Alcorn.
Yes.
You can come on Easter Sunday to Emmanuel Faith. And we'd love to get you. We will give you a copy of this.
Yes.
You can grab one.
We have 3,000
right on
of those.
Yeah. So
we're giving away. So anybody that comes, anybody that you invite to come, we'll at least have something to dig into a little bit more. After this. So that's really cool. Well, good.
There it is.
Right on.
Heaven.
Right on. Well, you brought a book for everyone.
I did
this time.
Yeah,
so
a booklet.
a booklet for everyone. So this, love to hear what you think down the road, and if it brings up questions, we would love to dive into those as well, and to talk more about that. And so you can always send questions. Okay, we get this email when you send a question to questions@efcc.org, it goes to us. And we will, we'll try to maybe do a quick response, but often we'll try to bring them here to the podcast and answer them here. So thank you so much for being here, Ryan. Thank you for taking us a little deeper into the cutting floor of the sermon.
As always. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. We should do this again sometime.
Let's do this again.
Maybe in May. No.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, we may get one more in April, but everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions, your conversation, and may you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you real soon. Hope to see you at Easter.
Yes. God bless. See ya.